again for being here for another awesome interview with Mandatory Fun Time. Today I'm here joined with the amazing Beware the Siren, aka Giselle. How are you today?
Hello. I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. I'm so excited for this interview because I actually got to meet you through Dungeons and Dragons, and I didn't know like that whole experience with Latinx gaming was so fun because like there was a bunch of people I didn't know at all, like Boribap and J Mags and you and Yesenia and all that kind of stuff. And now you're just like so like important in my life, and it's like so cool to get the chance to like talk about you and your accomplishments and everything. So thank you again for being here.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, of course. And then okay, so I know and love you with all my heart and soul, but a lot of people don't know who you are. So I want you to take a moment to actually if you could introduce yourself and like your brand and what you do and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, sure. Okay, hi everyone. My name is Giselle, aka Beware the Siren. I am a game writer and game designer. I've been in the game industry for about 2 years now, like close to it, a little below. Right now I am a game writer for Red Thread Games. I just got this job, so I'm really,
Yeah,
really excited.
congratulations.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to be a writer on the upcoming game Dustborn. Can't say much past that, but I'm super excited. Um, and yeah, I am also the Latinx in gaming moderator, and which is also new. And yeah, I'm like super into Dungeons and Dragons, all things geeky, uh, theater, and diversity and inclusion. I am super just I have this belief that we should have diverse storytelling in gaming and in all media,
True,
and
true.
that we should be both in front of the screen and behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's probably a reason why we're like friends, of course also that you're an amazing person and super kind and everything like that, but also that we have those same passions and moral compass and all that. So that's like really really cool. So, what I'm curious about is what is your origin story, whether it be as a writer, a storyteller, a geek, whatever you feel makes you.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so when I was a kid, I would play games, but I didn't really think about who was making them
Yeah.
or where it came from. It was just like a thing that I did. Um, but I was always into like creative stuff. I liked telling stories. I liked playing with my sisters and just like playing pretend and creating these like different stories and things like that. So like from a pretty young age, I wanted to be a writer. First, it was my sister because I wanted to be like my big sister. She was like, writing little stories in like middle school and high school, and I wanted to be like her.
Yeah.
So I started doing it too, and it was like little like romance stories and superhero and fantasy stories that included romance because I was a
Yeah.
big shipper.
Nice.
Yeah. So I was like writing these. What I wanted to be like a novelist
Yeah.
is what I wanted to be at first. Especially because when I was growing up, all of a sudden, like I was an avid reader, and all of these stories that I was reading were becoming these big, huge movies,
Hmm.
and I was like, whoa! And like for books, it's different. Like the
Yeah.
name on the book, so like, oh, that's a job.
Yeah.
I yeah, I didn't think about any other things besides what was told to me. Like, oh yeah, you're a firefighter, you're a doctor, you're a
Yeah.
lawyer, type stuff. Um, but yeah, so I wanted to create. I wanted to write. I also liked acting and singing and all that other stuff. But I was also really good at school academically,
Hmm.
and if you are good at school academically, there's this expectation, especially in a Latinx home,
Yeah.
uh, that you are you're gonna go into something that's going to make money. You're going
Yeah.
to go into
Something
something
practical. Yeah.
practical.
Yeah.
Exactly. Um, so yeah, so when it came down to choosing what I was going to be, what job I was going to do, uh, I wanted to get like go into like English or creative writing type of stuff. But my parents were like you're good at math, you're good at all of these things, like why don't you just have that be your backup,
Yeah.
and like why don't
Be
you
an
find something that
engineer. Yeah.
it's gonna be money. My
Yeah.
godmother sent me a link to be an actuary.
Oh, really? That's funny.
Yes, because I was good at math. She like asked me like, "What are your favorite subjects in school?" And I listed all the art ones. She's like, "Oh, but like what else?" I was like, "Math, actuary."
Right? It's like, here you go. Oh my god. That's
Yeah.
amazing. I like relate to that so much, but in like a different sort of way because I actually grew up in the house like filled of artists. So it was the norm for you to like chase your dreams and to like pursue everything or whatever. But it was demonized by the rest of the family being like, you're
Mhm.
gonna ruin those kids and you're gonna like live in the streets and all that kind of stuff. You can't live off your art. And then thankfully my parents like stuck true to it and the payoff was awesome, but I
Good.
feel like in a lot of Latinx households, that fear of like, we worked really hard to get here by playing it safe, so you must continue this, and we have to pass the torch to you and you have to play it safe too. But now that we're like multiple generations into America and become more Americanized, the idea of chasing our dreams and our passions and not just like living for a paycheck is more at the forefront of our minds and everything. So it's like really cool, and kudos to you for like pursuing your passion and everything. That's
Thank you.
awesome.
Yeah. So I ended up kind of compromising a little bit
Yeah.
at first. Because yeah, so I wanted English and creative writing, wasn't even thinking about games at all. Um, and my parents wanted me to go into something practical.
Mhm.
So I found like this major that seemed to me to be like some sort of fusion between English and computer science.
Yeah.
Um, but then when I got there, everything was technical writing, and they're like, "Oh, okay, so if you're in this major, are you doing animation or filmmaking?" And I was like, "Neither. I'm in the wrong place."
Yeah.
um, and like I was in humanities, housing. All of my friends were games majors, and
Yeah.
I like checked that out. And I was like, they have a game writing track. They have and it's creative writing. It's telling stories. So I was like, I'm not gonna waste money or anything trying to like go off into a different school. I'm here.
Yeah.
Um, and like yeah, so they got me also like back into gaming. We were playing what was it, Diablo and League of
Mm.
Legends and things like that. So I was like, okay, and I swapped. And it was also 2014 where some things were happening in the gaming industry history. There were lots of
Oh, that's
people
right. Yeah.
mhm, saying that, like, if you want people who look like you in games, then you should make them yourselves. And I was like, okay.
That's amazing. That's so cool. That's awesome. It's really awesome to hear you like go through that journey, especially like what was happening in the just the industry at the time, because it was like Gamergate you're referring to, right? With
Yes.
everything going on. Yeah, exactly. So it's a very spicy time to be involved in that. I'm glad you like held true, and because the payoff is awesome. Like you just got a new position and everything. Can you tell us
Yes.
about your? Oh no, you already did. Sorry. But yeah, so next question. As content creators, we can often, or even just creators, we can often find ourselves working beyond our limits and ultimately burning out. What would you say your own self care techniques are to ensure that you're taking care of your actual mental health?
Uh, honestly, I could be pretty bad at that. But yeah, I do my best to try and end work when I'm supposed to.
Mhm.
Um, and after that, I get pretty tired. I'm still living like in my parents' home, so there's this
Mhm.
expectation for like family time.
Mhm.
Right after that, I share a room with my sister.
Mhm.
So like especially in this pandemic, having like a place, not really having a place to myself,
Yeah.
um, is kind of like hurts that.
Yeah,
because like
another
I like
part. Yeah.
yeah, I need because I need to be able to sit down and just like have my me time and just like decompress.
Hmm.
Um so but yeah, just like finding those times to be able to decompress
Yeah.
um just whenever I can, and just taking that and just like I just find things that I personally like to do and try to get as much privacy as I can so that I
Mhm.
can just like bring back that battery back to full.
Yeah.
Um yeah, uh just do the things that I enjoy that don't take as much mental energy. Just I like to watch Dungeons and Dragons podcast, love Critical Role.
Yeah.
Yeah, just do things that I enjoy.
Yeah, I relate to that a lot because and I feel like it also is a Latinx like a factor because a lot of times, at least in my family, I can't speak for all families, but that idea of being a part of a family is so like strong and huge, especially the community aspect where it's like, oh, it's one of our family members' birthdays, that way everyone is required to attend, you know, so like drop everything
Mm,
you're doing, you know, this Sunday, and you must go here for at least like, you know, 4 to 6 hours or something like that. And it's like, okay, well, our family is huge, so that's like every single weekend, you know, got to do stuff. Or like, you know, especially living with your parents, and I, because I remember that as well, because I moved, I was like, you know, at 21, I'm like, I'm an adult now, I'm gonna leave house and I'm never gonna come back, I have everything sorted out. And then I left and was back like 2 years later and was like,
mm,
please let me back in. And they're like, of course, it's fine. But like, even though you might get a deal on rent, you're right that there is still a thing, like there is a rent cost of like mental health, where it's like,
absolutely.
yeah, because especially when you're in like in life, you're wearing many hats. You're like an employee, you're a sister, you know, you're a daughter, and like, you know, a partner, or all these different, you know, things. But in order to recharge, sometimes we just need to be ourselves and not have to worry about anyone else, you know, but us. And like,
Mm,
especially living with a lot of different, like, you know, um tenants and everything like that, roommates, it becomes harder and harder because there's not that much space, you know, because even walking out of your door, you have to interact and may get pulled into different directions. And yeah, so finding that solace or that port in the storm through mediums like Dungeons and Dragons or Netflix or any of those things that recharge definitely does help. Yeah, so it's like, it's good. It's really really good. Oh, that's awesome. And
thank you.
yeah, so uh we know that you have accomplished so much in your career, especially what you told us about getting a new position from one game company to the next and everything. Congratulations again on that. And
Thank you.
yeah, but I know that there has to have also been some L's that you've encountered that you no doubt learned a lot from. So L's usually mean like losses, but the first person I ever interviewed, which Eliana Murillo, she put it beautifully that L's no longer stand for losses, they stand for lessons. So, what would you say one of your biggest L's is in your career that you learned tremendously from? Whether it was a situation where you had everything sorted, everything was prepared, you studied, you know, prepared all that kind of stuff, and it still went wrong, or if it was a situation where you really legitimately did mess up and you're like, dang, you know, what was that lesson for you?
So I feel like I am not the greatest with failure. I'm very, very afraid of it.
Yeah,
And so that kind of like has me like not taking as many risks as I'd like to. I play things pretty safe.
yeah,
Um, so yeah. But like besides that, yeah, making games is all about failure. So there's a
yeah,
contradiction there. I just like trying to get into the industry, you have to deal with so much rejection.
hmm,
Um, I have applied to so many jobs that I did not get. I have like a
yeah,
spreadsheet full of rejections. Um, and yeah, I think also like so right now I'm living with my parents, and I
hmm,
think that also speaks to like kind of like the privilege that
yeah,
you need to have in order to even succeed in this career.
hmm,
Because like I would not be able to do this if I didn't
Yeah.
have like my family as a supporting
Mm-hmm.
system, because like in between, like with those like very very lengthy rejections becomes like a lengthy a lengthy period of unemployment.
Mm-hmm.
um so yeah, I was like spending all of this time uh just like getting rejection after rejection after rejection.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the meantime too, like I had to take up like retail jobs
Mm-hmm.
at the same time. I worked for H&M for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
um like this was like pre-pandemic, which like w- leading right into the pandemic actually.
Yeah.
um and yeah, especially like, so if you're a kid who like grew up with all of these expectations that you were going to be really big and
Mm-hmm.
make like lots of money, like which you we tell nerds all the time that like that's what's going to happen,
Yeah.
especially if you were like bullied.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh yeah, you know, your bully is going to well, like one day you're gonna be the CEO of some company, and the bully's
Yeah.
gonna come in for the job and whatever like that. So like, yeah, be being in a place where you didn't think that you're going to be, and that society says like isn't like the greatest of places,
Yeah.
um, can also kind of like, you know, bruise like your ego and your mental health.
Yeah.
Um, I think at this point though, it was like um a necessity, and I've done a lot of like growing from that
Yeah.
point. So like I feel like I'm afraid of failure, but I also feel like I have grown into a place where I have been able to take rejection
Yeah.
a lot more easily, uh, and just know like when things are like society, and when they are me, and what like
Yeah.
accountability versus it is what it is.
Yeah.
And you know, that's just how society and the state of society and life right now.
Yeah, I that speaks volumes to me because I feel like we walked the same path because like I grew up with ADHD, didn't know I had ADHD. I thought I was like so dumb because like I wasn't able to focus as well as my peers or anything like that. And then only just recently, like last year literally I found out I had ADHD, but I've always had anxiety, like immense fear of something that's like so tiny, but to me it was like a huge mountain and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so I relate to that a lot because I would also turn to comic books, anime, you know, novels, and seek so much inspiration from the shonen characters where they're like a boy with a dream who's like a nobody who works really hard and becomes this great thing and shows all of his peers off, you know, just like you said. And then when that dose of reality hits, when like for me it was a couple things, you know, for like originally I didn't want to be an artist or creative like my parents. I was like I grew up in such uncertainty and we didn't know when we'd have our next meal because we didn't have enough money because everything was so inconsistent with being an artist, that like I wanted stability for my family in the future. So I'm going to be an engineer just like my grandfather and my uncle. And then I couldn't pass trig to save my life, like could not pass it at all. And I like cried and I had breakdowns being like, I'm such an idiot, like I can't believe, like what am I gonna do, like oh my god, I don't even know, you know. And then it that was like a really really low point, you know, for me, and one of like many obviously. Meanwhile I saw, of course, thanks to social media like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all these things, all the people that I went to high school with, like you said, the bullies, like
Mhm.
they also have their highs and lows. And you see, like, so if you pop on Instagram and you see someone that treated you like trash, like getting an awesome career, you know, going to college, getting everything, and you're like there working at a grocery store, it like hurts, you know, full
Mhm.
blown. It's like, dang. But I think that's a beautiful thing about life is that it's not like a destination, it's a journey, you know. There will be, you know, peaks and valleys, and in order to get to the level that we're at in life, because I feel like both of us, I can see say with confidence, both of us are in a good place in our life with like you getting an awesome promotion and having tons of connections Latinx and gaming and have the
Mhm.
respect of all your peers in this community and everything like that. And then myself with like, you know, Dungeons and Dragons and all these different things, like But in order to get to this point, there had to have been like, the breakdowns, the lows, the bad days, and like, especially having like anxiety and ADHD and all these different other factors,
Yeah.
so it's wild. So I completely resonate with that, like 100%. So thank you for sharing that for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So pivoting on the other end of the spectrum, what would you say one of your favorite W's are in your career? Whether it be something small in the very beginning that you were like, to everyone else this didn't matter, but to me it meant the world, or
Mhm.
an actual legit huge accomplishment that you that happened to you in your life. Yeah.
Um, d- One of them is definitely getting this job.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I am getting to be able to work on like a game that I would have bought and played um, if I wasn't even working on it. I have wanted to work like as a game writer for a like indie kind of like triple I game for a while. These are the
Yeah.
types of games that I love. Um and the main character is black.
Mhm.
And so like that it's just like so close to my heart.
Yeah.
Um I also really loved getting to like run and organize the Afro Latinx and Gaming Roundtable back in
Oh yeah.
October.
Yeah.
I was like really nervous about like it was like my first like time appearing like on camera in front
Yeah.
of a whole bunch of people. Um and I like I hadn't really like been in charge of organizing a thing like that before.
Yeah.
Uh and yeah, I like put like a whole bunch of pressure on myself in getting that done. But then
Yeah.
everyone that was involved with it just like told me how great it was for them,
Yeah.
and I like this is exactly what I wanted and what I want to continue to do, maybe in different ways though.
Yeah.
Things that don't necessarily pique my anxiety to appear.
Yeah.
um but like definitely stuff that I want to be able to like continue to do, and just like getting a taste of that, and you know, like being able to be part of something like bigger
Yeah.
and uh do a little good in the world like is really important to me.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's so wild about life is that in order to get those big W's, you have to face your biggest fears. Like you got to like be in the room with your like I was so surprised when you told me that you had anxiety, cuz I've literally worked with you with like a 5-part series for Latinx and gaming in front of like the front page of Twitch from like 5,000 viewers and like all that kind of stuff, and you still like brought your A game and performed in front of everyone, and then also did now you're a moderator for Latinx Gaming as well. So it's one of those things that like even though you these things peak the anxiety, you still face it head on and accomplish great things. So that's like super cool of you. That's awesome.
Thank you.
And then yeah, so what geeky passions would you say fuel you and your creativity that made you who you are today?
So yeah, obviously love Dungeons and Dragons, but I
Mhm.
think what brings me like I think the reason why the game attracts me so much is
Mhm.
because it's like this combination of so many things that I grew up with. It's writing, um, it's acting. I grew up loving theater. I would sing with my high school choir,
Mhm.
and I was in a whole bunch of musical productions.
Mhm.
So I like probably like the closest to my heart growing up
Yeah.
was like I was actually Cinderella in Rogers and Hammerstein's
Oh,
Cinderella, their high
cool.
school production of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think yeah, I bring my love for music, my love for like acting, writing, all
Yeah.
things storytelling. Um yeah, it's a deep love, and I like to just like yeah, try to bring that in everything because yeah, sometimes some of those other passions kind of like go off, like you don't get to tap into those as
Yeah.
much. Uh like something that I don't really get to do too much, I like songwriting.
Mhm.
um I It's mostly lyrics and melodies. I'm really bad at composing like the instrumental
Yeah.
portion of it. But yeah, I love doing all of those things. Also love anime. That's something.
It makes sense because I definitely see all those influences. Obviously, I haven't read your writing, but I have seen you perform in Dungeons and Dragons for that like mini series. I can definitely see all those influences of anime and like different types of novels and all that kind of stuff because you're very well spoken, articulate, and your characters have a lot of like depth to them. It's not just like a shallow character. You can so that's always a sign that someone's a writer when they have the like their D&D character and they has a big backstory, like a thick. It's like
Yeah.
it's good, it's awesome. That means you really care and are able to world build. So it's which obviously you're in the industry of writing in the game industry, so it makes sense that yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like really really cool. And then okay, so, let's say we could go back in time to high school or pre-pandemic where you were still like unemployed, unsure of your future and all that kind of stuff. And you could sit down with your former self. What advice would you tell them yourself to say like, look, I know things are hard right now. I know you're getting bullied. I know things are really, really, you don't know what tomorrow holds, but here's a small bit of wisdom that will help you out in your journey, like ahead and all that.
Hmm. That's a good question. I'm not 100% sure. I think for high school me, yeah, it would be a lot about just honestly not necessarily listening to a lot of the advice that I was given because
Hmm.
a lot of it was harmful.
Yeah.
Like the like telling kids that oh, um if you're bullied, it's okay that you're being bullied now because in the future you're going to be this great big successful person. um and like that's not necessarily the case. People who are like not great to you
Hmm.
um like can absolutely 100% be successful in life, and they often are.
Hmm.
And y- you, just because like hopefully like just because you're a decent person doesn't necessarily mean that you're not like the protagonist
Hmm.
in a book. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't you're going to get wins and losses, and you're going to grow and from your experiences, and like both of those will do that for you. And that's going to be the same for literally every single person.
Yeah.
um and the reason it's not okay that that I was bullied.
Hmm.
um it's not this like great big like it's not like, oh, this is what you have to go through in order to be successful. And success is going to mean a lot of different things. I never would have guessed that I was going to be a game writer. Like
Yeah.
that was never something that was that like I even thought about. So success is going to look different that to you than what it looks like right now. And you're going to take wins and losses, and you're going to grow from it. And being an adult is very different than what's shown on TV. Just like live life. I don't know.
Yeah, it's very true. That's a big dose of honesty. That life isn't always like the media we're consuming, and I think that's also a bit that's kind of poisoning our perception, when it comes to anime or novels or anything like that, there's that romantic interest that like magically appears in your life and like
Mhm.
becomes attracted to you and da 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 and all that kind of stuff and like likes you for you despite what you do, and that's not true. Like
Yeah.
Like if you're hurting and you're going and you have unresolved issues, then you've got to go to therapy. You've got to take care of yourself. You've got to like, earn the right to be with someone else and do all these sort of things to work on yourself. And you can't just, go through life expecting things to just work out, And that was yeah, that was definitely something I went through as well. So I completely understand that, especially the comment about um you know bullying and oh I went through that too when I was your age, and that means that you have to go through it as well, and all these sort of different things that like it's like, no, we don't have to do that. There's
Mhm.
absolutely another way to handle it. And it's very wise to be able to want to tell your younger self that about all this knowledge that you now have. Hopefully we can
Mhm.
impart it on the next generation to be able to make it easier for them in this journey, especially coming from a Latinx background where there are certain ideals that are so ingrained in our culture that when we break away from it in a more progressive era like today, it can be met with like conflict and everything. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I think I feel like I was very kind of not necessarily obsessed, but I was like into like very into the idea of like what I was like supposed to do.
yes, yeah,
Like what society or like parents or
hmm
like stories, media, whatever, like what
hmm
society thought like that you were supposed to do. I'm
hmm
supposed to be doing this and like X and Y and whatever. um and like I think some of those things might be like can be there for a
yeah,
reason, but like not everybody fits into this like these like cookie cutter like shapes.
yeah,
And what worked for someone else and what they were supposed to do isn't necessarily what I am supposed to do or have to do. And
exactly,
yeah, so like just learning what I want and going for what I want and what will be good for me regardless of what I am supposed to do, um is like also probably one of the biggest lessons. I think kind of basically what I said, but yeah.
yeah. Hey, that's awesome. That's it's if we ever got that chance to talk to our former selves, and what wisdom to choose. There's so many, that we could impart upon them. So it's totally cool adding on to it. But yeah, okay. So where can we find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at BewaretheSiren. That's really the only thing that I use publicly.
Perfect. And then yeah. So have you ever seen any of my other interviews before? And no worries if not.
I watched a teeny tiny bit of Yesenia's to kind of prepare for
Get a
this
feel
one.
for it. Okay, perfect. So what I do at the end of every interview is take a small moment to be real with my guest, to be like a genuine moment for like person to person and everything. So for the next few minutes, you cannot do any self-deprecating humor. You cannot deny anything. You can't do anything like that. So Beware the Siren, Giselle, I just want to say like thank you so much for being in my life, for being involved in so many projects that I'm in, for helping out with Latinx in gaming, and all the things you're a part of, to pick up the pen and actually pursue writing as a craft, because you are so full of talent and you're so witty and charming that the world like doesn't deserve your awesome talent and everything. So I really appreciate that you're here and flexing all of your creative skills to be able to enhance every community that you're a part of, whether it be Latinx in gaming, the game industry, all of these different things. You are going to be that champion of the people, so that way the little like boys and girls as they're growing up, they can look to you for an inspiration of a good hardworking person who has worked all their life and has anxiety and yet accomplishes so much despite it. So I really want to take a moment to say thank you so much for everything you do, and yeah, you're wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you much for saying that.
Absolutely. So yeah. Oh, you said he's here. You guys here. So
Hi. Hi, Yesenia.
uh yeah, so I want to thank you again for being here. I really really appreciate you, and make sure to check out Beware the Siren on Twitter. Follow her. She's going to do great things, and yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful night, and we'll see you
Thank
later.
you. Thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye.